Riding the Waves。今日はカカアコのマインドフルムーブメントスタジオ、スティル&ムービングセンターで様々なヨガのクラスを教えているヨガインストラクター、ロビン・シェパードさんがゲストです。ロビンさんは、スティル&ムービングセンターのスタッフでもあるんですけれども、今日はティーチャースポットライトということで、このロビンさんにいろいろとお話を伺っていきたいと思います。So Robin, first of all, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. And I just think that you're very beautiful and I love your enthusiasm. And, from the short amount of time that I only know you from Zoom, like, I feel like you're always like 100% in, like whenever you're there, like you're always present with everybody. And, I just love that about you. And I wanted to get to know you better. So happy to have you today.
Thank you so much, Sachiko. It is an honor when this interview request came through. I just felt tickled. And I think the thing that you picked up on, like that being 100% in, that is just kind of a personal mantra in a way for me. And so I think that is coming through is a testament to that. I guess that part is working. So I have this little mantra that I live by that actually it's appropriate for every situation, and it's just to leave people better than I found them.
Oh wow. Yeah. Leave better than found them. Yeah, that's
so
beautiful.
That's it, like nothing else, and that just kind of guides it. But it's easy to have enthusiasm for the moving center. It's easy to have enthusiasm for all of the things that we do, and especially interacting with you, because you bring out the best in people for sure. And it's almost unbelievable that we haven't met in person, because I feel now like I'm kind of getting to know you, but we haven't actually physically been in the same space. So
right, that's
a
true.
testament to how clearly you come through.
Thank you. ね、ということで、ロビーさんはですね、本当に私、ズームとかでしかなかなかね、お会いする機会がないんですけれども、お仕事の関係で。でも、本当にいろんな人とインタラクトするときに、100% その人とちゃんと向き合うというか、すごく一生懸命で、素敵な方なんですよね。それで本当に美しい方なので、私もそういうところも大好きなんで、すごいいろいろと知りたかったんですけど、なんてお話をしたんですけども、実はそれが、ロビーさんのちょっと自分の生き様というか、本当に生きていきたいゴールでもあったりとかして、で、彼女がマントラのように自分に言いかけているのは、人々を見つけた時よりも、すごくいい状態で返してあげるみたいな、そういうことが自分のマントラになっているっていうことなので、本当に素敵ですよね。だからズームでもね、でも随分そういった感じとかってわかると思うんですけども、またリアルで会うとね、またすごく感じもまた違うんじゃないか、もっとパワフルなんかじゃないかなとは思いますけれどもね。では、このロビンさんにですね、じゃあちょっといろいろと聞いていきたいと思うんですけども、今ハワイにね、お住まいなんですけど、もともとどこ出身で、どこで育ったのかとかも聞いてみたいと思います。So, okay, now Hawaii is your home right now, right? But then where are you originally from and where were you raised? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I can. My mother actually was born and raised in Hawaii, and she left Hawaii for love and moved to the Pacific Northwest. She moved to Oregon. And so I was born and raised in Oregon in a suburb of Portland.
Okay. And then you went all the way to college there too.
I did. I actually attended Oregon State University, and that was a choice to, maybe it was also a choice for love. I think I followed my sweetheart more than anything. I know it's so strange, but I followed my sweetheart, and it has turned out well. The Pacific Northwest has a certain sensibility about it. I think we don't take ourselves too seriously. And we also have an appreciation for nature that because we've lived, there's mountains, there's ocean, there's forest. So it's a really beautiful place to be raised.
OK。実はですね、ロビンさんのお母さんがハワイ生まれ育ちで、なんかずっとハワイの人だったっていうことなんですけれども、好きな人ができて、その人を追いかけて、実はオレゴンに行ったってことなんですね。で、そこでロビンさんは生まれて、で、ロビンさんはそこで育って、オレゴン州立大学までずっとオレゴンにいたそうなんです。で、実はそれも、オレゴン州立大学を選んだのも自分のスイートハートを追いかけて行ったということだったので、ちょっとお母さんと同じでね、好きな人を追いかけて、そこに留まったみたいな感じだったんでしょうけれども、オレゴン州っていうのはすごく山とか海もあって、すごくね、自然も綺麗なので、オレゴンの人っていうのはすごく、その自然を大事にしたりとかするし、自分自身のことはあんまりこう、深く考えないというか、すごくなんかこう、イージーなね、感じの人たちが多いので、ロビンさんもね、きっとそういう、影響もあるんじゃないでしょうかね。はい。ロビンさん、ご家族、ご兄弟とかいらっしゃるんですかね？ Do you have any brothers, sisters, anything?
Well, I do have my parents divorced when I was young. I was 5 years old, and I do have step siblings that I do keep in contact with, but we weren't raised together. I would see them occasionally on holidays, but I was, for the vast majority, raised as an only child.
Oh, wow.
So I never felt that it was a detriment. And I think my mom tried really hard to make me not so spoiled. But yeah, I was the experiment of one for her.
Yeah. ねえ、彼女のご家族なんですけれども、ご兄弟とかもいらっしゃるんですかって聞いたら、5歳の時にご両親が離婚されていまして、それでだから異母兄弟というかいるんですけれども、でももう基本的に彼女はもう本当に一人っ子としてね、育てられたということで、だからお母さんもあんまりねこう甘やかせないようにみたいな感じで、ちょっと気をつけてはいったようなんですけれども、どうだったんでしょうねっていうことですけれどもね。Were you a very active child too, like active in sports and everything? Did you always like moving around a lot?
I did. And in thinking about this interview, something has come to me. I was always active as a child. And for me, I was always a participant in team sports, basketball, early on volleyball. And then I sort of found my niche and specialization in track and field. And so I was a sprinter and a hurdler, high jump, long jump, triple jump. That was what brought me, I think, the most joy and competitive spirit. And then as I moved on into my later life, I tried to partake of the outdoors. So skiing and snowboarding, mountain biking, all of those kinds of things. Running. We have a thing in Oregon called Hood to Coast. So from starting on Mount Hood and going to the coast, the Oregon coast the Oregon coast. It's a 15-person team, and you take turns in vans with one person running always. So we would run through the night, in the fields, in the mountains, through towns. It was so much fun. And so those kinds of things were always a part of my life. And then early on, I think I was in my mid-20s, I discovered yoga as well.
OK。やっぱりこう小さい頃からスポーツとかこうね、やるこうアクティブなお子さんだったんですかって聞いたんですけども、やっぱりそうだったそうです。バスケとかバレーボールとかもやっぱり今振り返ってみると、やっぱりこうチームのメンバーになっていたりとかしたし、あと陸上もすごいね、やってたそうなんですね。ハードルとか、もうハイジャンプとか、高跳びとか、とにかくいろんなことをやっていたそうなんですけど、だからそこでなんかこう、人と競争するみたいなことが結構好きになったのかもしれないですっていうふうにおっしゃってましたけれども、あと、アウトドアの方もね、もうちょっと大きくなってきたら好きになって、スノボとか、スキーとか、あと、もちろんマウンテンバイクとか、あと、ランニングとかもね、すごくやってたんですけど、オレゴンではフットトゥーコーストっていう、言葉があってで、15人乗りのバンにみんな乗って、必ずそこにたどり着くまで、一人必ずこう走り続けるっていう、なんか面白い、遊びというかね、なんかそのスポーツみたいなんですけど、それをしょっちゅうやってて、すごく く楽しかったですなんておっしゃってますけれどもね。はい。で、そういったスポーツにやっぱりすごく関わってて、なんか学校でもそういうね、系列のことをやるというか、お仕事にするためにそんな勉強とかをしたんでしょうかね。何専攻されてたんですかね。So what was your major in school? Like, what were you trying to, like, did you have a set goal, like, in school?
Yes, I would say, just to do this quick follow-up to the question that you just asked, and then it will go right into your next question. I was always a very active child and active person and involved in sports and fitness and moving my body. I would say, a person asked me not too long ago, like, what is the thing you could never live without? And for me, it's reading, like knowing knowledge, like books and knowing things. And that is I think it's just like an intense curiosity, just to know all kinds of things. It doesn't have to just be one specific topic. It's just this percolating through, and I read avidly. And so as I've been thinking about my movement, I've almost had to like counterbalance being a mover with the tendency of my mind to want to find out information.
Right.
And And so my major in school, not surprisingly, was general psychology and sociology. Like start at the base, right?
Yeah. Wow. Right. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
いや、実はですね、やっぱりそのフィットネスとかもやったりとか、スポーツとかやってすごくアクティブだったんで、そういうふうにね、なんか思われがちなんですけど、実はなんかその、知り合いの人にも、あなたになくては、どうしてもなくてはならないものって何ですかって聞かれたときに、読書だっていうふうに答えたそうなんですよね。彼女はとにかく本を読むのが大好きで、もういつも何か読んでいるってことなんですけども、だからなんかこう何かに何でもそれもカテゴリー関係なくって、もう興味がいろんなことに好奇心がものすごいんですね。で、だからその、読んだりとかなんかいろいろ知ることが大好きで、その結果、オレゴン州立大学では、社会学、そして心理学を専攻していたということなんですよね。その時にじゃあヨガとかも出会ったんですかね。Was that when you discover yoga in school? Like when you were studying or no?
It wasn't. I hadn't been. I think maybe I'd had exposure to the idea of yoga, possibly in college, but I'm fairly, of a a little bit old, and so yoga really hadn't bubbled up as something that was for a general audience yet. It was still a bit niche when I was in school. So I hadn't yet done that. And it wasn't until I actually started my career at Nike that I actually discovered yoga. Because like many people, I loved what I studied in university, but I really didn't end up, and I used it still, but I didn't end up applying it directly to become a psychologist or to become a psychiatrist. I went straight into the business world.
Yeah, wow, interesting. So was Nike the first job after school?
I had a little sidestep because I had worked for, again, these random things. In college, I needed to support myself. And so I had different kind of odd jobs through my college career. And one was working for a dentist in his practice, in his office.
Yeah.
And he ended up having knowing another dentist in Portland, I went to work there. And then just through happenstance and meeting people, I met someone who was a recruiter for Nike, and they said, you should come apply. And then it all just kind of happened from there. So I had this little side step into the world of dentistry. And I actually do know like more than the average person about teeth. I don't know if it's valuable, but I have that sidestep, and I actually really enjoyed my time doing that. It was just interesting. But then I count my career starting when I began to work for Nike.
interesting. なんかその大学の時にヨガをね、こうやり始めたんですかって聞いたら、まあ、心理学とかもやってたのでね、なんかそういうのも興味が湧いたのかと思ったんですけど、そうではなくて、大学の時は、まあ、当時彼女の時代ではそんなにこうまだヨガがポピュラーじゃなかったんですよね。なんで実はヨガを初めて知ったのはこうナイキで働き始めた時だったそうなんです。まあ、彼女は長いことね、実はナイキで働いていたんですけれども、まあ、大学の時はね、こう、それがなぜナイキにつながったのかというと、大学生の時にやっぱり金銭的に自分をサポートしなくちゃいけないので、歯医者さんのところですごいバイトというか、お仕事してたんですって。で、まあ、その歯医者さんがまた別の歯医者さんを紹介してくれて、で、まあ、そこでも働いてたんですけど、で、そしたらそこになんとナイキのリクルーターの人がいて、あなた絶対応募した方がいいわよって言われて、それでなぜか歯医者さんからナイキにつながったということらしくてですね、なんか本当だから人生面白いですよね。だからロビンさんは多分普通の人よりは歯のことをものすごい知ってるそうなんです。私も歯のなんか問題があったらもう本当ぜひロビンさんに教えてもらうんだ。If I have any teeth problem, I have to consult you now. いやね、それでまあそんなロビンさんなんですけれども、そのまあナイキのお仕事のね関係もあると思うんですけども、なんと13年間海外でね暮らした経験があって、いろんなところに行って行った経験があるということなんですけれども、どんな感じだったんでしょうかね、聞いてみたいと思います。So, I understand that you spent like 13 years just traveling all over the world, like you lived in China and also Vietnam too. And so the work actually sent you there. How did you end up in Asia?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I worked at Nike for almost 10 years, and it's a job that just sucks you in and it just engrosses every part of yourself. You're working a lot of hours. It has this ability to just make you feel like you really want to give it your all. And so, not surprisingly, people found their potential future spouses there, quite a lot, because this is
so many hours.
All of our time.
Yeah.
And we called the place in Beaverton, the headquarters of Nike, is called a campus. And it felt like a college campus. When I worked there, the average age was, I think, under 30, and lots of people just having fun, but also very career driven. And so, unsurprisingly, I met my husband, Mike, there. And it was actually his job that took us overseas. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't your Nike job. It was his.
It wasn't my Nike job. It was his.
And
by that time, and I know you have to translate. But by that time, it was really good for us as a family, because we had just had our children. And it was a great time to step away from my job, which was very engrossing and demanding, and to take on a different phase. Be able to spend more time.
Right. ロビンさんはですね、ナイキに10年間お仕事をしていたということなんですけれども、すごくね、楽しい仕事なので、時間もやっぱりすごくどんどん取られていってしまったりだとか、もう自分もとにかく全力でやろうみたいな感じにみんななっていくので、もうすべてこうなんか放出するみたいな感じだったわけなんですよね。それでだからもうそのナイキでは自分たちのヘッドクォーターのことをキャンパスって呼んでいたそうなんですけれども、本当に大学のキャンパスみたいな、みんながいつもそこにいるっていう状態らしくって、だからまあ自然とそこで大体ナイキの社員の人たちっていうのはそこで自分のこう旦那さんとか奥さんとこう見つけるっていうパターンがすごく多いらしく、彼女の場合もですね、実は旦那さんに出会ったのがこのナイキだったということなんですね。で大体働いている人たちも30歳以下の人たちとかでもうすごくいつも楽しくパーティーしたりとか、そういうこともあったのでこう出会いも多かったということで、ご主人 人の名前はマイクさんっていうんですけれども、で、実はそのマイクさんと結婚して、マイクさんももちろんナイキで働いていたので、実はその、ロビンのそのナイキのお仕事の出張でアジアに行ったわけではなく、マイクさんの方のナイキのお仕事の関係で出張ってことになったそうなんです。で、その時に彼女はもうすでにお子さんが生まれていて、家族としてもすごくいい条件だったので、じゃあぜひ行こうということになって、この中国とベトナムへね、アジアでの、駐在というふうになったということなんですけれども、So you had, how many children you had by then? When you moved to
Two
Asia?
children.
Two
Two
already.
children. A 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. So now, transpose, you can do the math now. I have an almost 16-year-old girl and a 17-and-a-half-year-old boy.
わで、その時、中国にいた時は、お子さんが1歳と3歳だったそうなんですけれども、今ね、こう時間が経って、現在は17歳半、もうすぐ18歳と、あと16歳のお子さんがいらっしゃるということなんですけど、本当お子さんがいるように全然見えないんですけどもね、You don't look anything like you have like a 18-year-old or 16-year-old. Oh my gosh.
I can't believe that my son is going to be like an adult in just like 6 months.
Oh
5
my
months.
God. I
It's
know.
crazy.
Yeah.
But they've had an interesting life because we brought them when they were very small to first Guangzhou and then subsequently Shanghai and then finally to Ho Chi Minh City without a break coming back to the States, just going from one to the other. And so up until their high school, they had never been to school in the US. They had even preschool, they had no idea about it. And so when we finally decided, my husband decided to retire, and we've always had this plan. Hawaii has always been the place for us. We have family roots here and a deep love of this place. And so the idea of them going to high school here was, I think for both of them, very intriguing because the typical high school experience, it has a big kind of a personality, you know, the idea in popular culture of what the American high school experience is. And so I don't know. They haven't gotten it yet, but maybe they will.
maybe, yeah. いや、やっぱりね、お子さんをね、知らない土地でね、こう、育てるっていうのも大変だったんじゃないかと思うんですけども、でもすごい、だからもう今になってね、もう息子が成人というか、本当に18歳とかなるっていうの信じられないっていうふうにね、ロビンさんおっしゃってるんですけども、だからその2人は、もうほとんどアジアで育っているので、普通のこう学校、アメリカの学校とかプリスクールとかも行ってないですし、こうアメリカっぽいね、だから教育を受けていないんですよね。で、彼女たちがいたのは中国の広州と上海、あとベトナムのホーチミンでね、暮らしていたということなんですけれども、ですから今ね、こうやってハワイに来て、ハワイに来たのはそのご主人がね、そろそろリタイアしたいってことになって、どうせだったらやっぱりファミリーのルーツもある、こうハワイがいいんじゃないかってことで、ハワイをね、最終的に決めたということなんですけれども、だから今になってやっとこうなんかアメリカの高校っぽいね、感じを今経験しているんだと思うんですけれどもね。So are they like trilingual? Like do they speak Chinese and like Vietnamese too? Or?
So we found that our first stop in Guangzhou was very necessary to have just what we called survival Mandarin. It was a melting pot of people from all over China, actually. And so Mandarin became that common language, and the dialects sort of were to the side. And both of the kids, they were immersed in that as far as being able to hear it every day and speak it. And the people that we interacted with often didn't have English. And so having that basis was very important. They started to learn it in school. Moving to Shanghai, a little bit different situation in that there were more people who spoke English and wanted to practice English, but we still could continue on with Mandarin. They continued with Mandarin in school. And then we got to Vietnam, and we found Vietnamese to be much harder than Mandarin.
Is it?
The tones are much, at least for me and for us, the tones were more difficult to produce and we just felt slightly, I guess, defeated by it. And on top of that, it's many people spoke English. And so we abandoned it. And the other thing that we, this sounds really funny to say, but about Vietnamese, because there are so few words and so many tones, similar to Mandarin, often when you're learning, what you're saying has a double meaning, a double entendre.
Yeah.
And it's often kind of like not appropriate. So when you're learning and you're saying things, you're sort of oftentimes inadvertently saying like kind of filthy things in public. And so that discouraged me a little bit.
Oh, wow. But you speak a little Chinese then?
Yeah, EDN.
Wow, wow, that's amazing.
Just a little. My children read and write and speak way better than I do, but they're not fluent at this point, but they're still bringing it on.
Yeah. Yeah. まあそうやっていろいろね、中国とかベトナムに住んだことで、やっぱり言葉の方もね、随分とお勉強されたそうです。で、中国語っていうのはやっぱりね、最初に広州に行った時にどうしても必要だったので、すごく一生懸命になってこれは覚えたということなんですけども、で、あとでもちょっと上海はね、様子が違って、少し英語喋りたいとかいう人もすごくいっぱいいたので、そこまでね、なんかあんまり使わなくなっていたということなんですけども、それで今度はホーチミンに行った時にベトナム語ってロビンさんにとってはですけど、ちょっとすごく発音とかも難しかったので、なんかすごく自信を失ってしまって、なんかあんまり勉強できなかったっておっしゃってて、で特にそのベトナム語っていうのは私もちょっとわからないんですけど、そのトーンがいろんな発音の仕方があって、で発音の仕方によってはすごくダブルミーニングがあって、なんか全然違った意味になっちゃうそうなんですよね。なんでそれをなんか公共の前でなんとかって言った時にみんなに笑われるみたいな感じで、ちょっと私も無理みたいになって、でちょっとあんまりベトナム語はできないそうなんですけど、今ね中国語ちょこっと喋ってくれましたけど、中国語はわかるということなんですね。でも息子さんとか娘さんの方が中国語に関してもちゃんと読めるし、漢字とかも読めるし、書けたりとかもするし、喋るのもすごく上手ですっていうふうにおっしゃってますけれどもね。But so like I understand that you study your yoga in Vietnam, right? Like, so how does that come about?
Yeah, and let me know on this. I'd like to just spend just a few minutes on kind of what my yoga journey was, because it's been very informative. And if you want me to stop so that you can have time to translate, like I tend to get going and then I forget, you maybe need a chance. But I started to be a practitioner of yoga in my mid-20s. And this was at Nike, where on the campus, the availability of fitness was there. They had gyms everywhere. They really encouraged you to go work out and to move your body during the day so that it was more balanced. And that first teacher that I had was an Iyengar teacher, and she was so Iyengar yoga is very alignment based, very precise and more slow. And what I found out from her, because every one of my teachers has given me something just so critical and like invaluable, and so many gems to take with me. Her contribution was about how important the foundation of a pose is, how important the feet are, how important it is to be grounded in order to grow into a posture. And she made Trikonasana, triangle pose, my favorite pose of all time. And then moving on into my time in China, I had a couple of different teachers. One delivered her lessons only in Chinese. And so I was able to watch and follow, but what I could, and I started to pick up on certain things that she would say. Feng Song was relax, and Yi Qi, Hu Qi, Yi Qi, Hu Qi, breathe in, breathe out. And that ability to not be in my head so much and processing language, I think helped me to take something different from what she was teaching. It helped me take something different from the poses. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I had an Ashtanga teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say, because Ashtanga is a set group of poses, a set series that you do over and over in the same way every time,
Mm-hmm.
she taught me to be able to move with my breath. She taught me to be able to flow with my breath. And that's actually a tricky thing to learn as you're starting and practicing. And so those three people as a practitioner were very instrumental. And then I had two mentors, which I'll talk about like in a second.
Yeah, well, thank you. でね、ここでちょっとそのヨガのね、話になったんですが、彼女が、ベトナムでね、ヨガを勉強されたっていうことだったので、ちょっとそれについて聞いたんですけども、ベトナムだけでなくて中国でもね、ヨガを勉強されていて、で、実は、彼女にとっては3人ね、すごく、大事な先生がいたっていうことなんですね。で、まず一人はですね、そもそもそのヨガとの出会いっていうのは、そのナイキで働いていたときに、自分たちのその仕事場にもう、ナイキですから何でもやれる、ジムがあったんですね。本当にもう、まだ知られてないようなとか、もう本当にいろんな種類の、トレーニングができて、で、その中で出会った先生が、アイアンガーの、ヨガのインストラクターの先生だったんです。で、このタイプの、ヨガっていうのは、すごく自分のアライメントとかをね、これしっかり教える、ちょっとスローな感じのヨガなんですけれども、ここでもすごく大切な学びをね、得ることができたし、そこで、これを学んだことで自分はすごくやっぱ基礎が大事だっていうこととか、グラウンディングすることが大事だっていうことを学んで、それの結果、彼女はすごくトライアングルポーズが大好きになって、それが一番彼女にとって大好きなポーズということなんですけど、で、それから中国でもね、勉強されて、で、そこで、中国語でしか教えてくれない先生がいたそうなんですね。で、だからちょっと言葉がね、言葉だけで追いつくので、最初はどうしようなんて思ってて、今ちょっと言ってくれました。フォンソンっていうのはリラックスっていう意味で、で、一淵みたいな感じのは、呼吸、深呼吸して、それで吐いてっていうね、意味だそうなんですけれど、そういった基本的なことを覚えて、で、あとはすごく頭であんまりいろんなことを考えすぎずに、感覚で学ぶってことをこの先生からやっぱり教えてもらったっていうことなんですね。でそれからあとアシュタンガの先生もついて、でアシュタンガいろんなポーズのセットっていう感じのところがありますけども、呼吸とともに動く、呼吸とともにフローしていくとか、いうことをこの先生からすごく教えてもらって、それってすごくね、最初は難しいことなんですけれども、この3人からの影響がすごく大きかったですというふうにおっしゃってますけれどもね。Yeah. So, can you tell me about your yoga discovery journey a little bit more? Yeah.
Sure. So when we moved to Asia, I was able to step back from Nike and be having time with my children, but I also still wanted to be involved in something. And so the path that I ended up taking took me into early childhood education. And I ultimately became a preschool teacher for 5 years.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah.
And I know happy circumstances have led me through every transition in my life. And so I loved my career at Nike, but I found that my working with children was so fulfilling and like a job that I wanted instead of a job that I felt like I had to have. Moving to Shanghai, I wasn't sure what would happen next, but I ended up working with a small school for special needs children in their early intervention program, and felt that was, again, like one of the most rewarding things that I have ever been able to do. And that was so working with them emotionally, physically, and mentally and physically. And so getting to know the ways of working with children through movement was a huge part of what I did in Shanghai. And so on the move to Vietnam, again, something has presented itself with every move. And it became very clear early on that I was meant to pursue yoga as as a teacher instead of just as a practitioner.
I see. で、さらにね、ちょっとヨガとのね、関係を聞いてみたんですけれども、アジアにそうやって、転勤になった時に、ナイキからは少しだけね、ステップバックしようということで、そんなにね、お仕事しなくなったんですけれども、その時間で、じゃあ何をしようかなって思った時に、お子さんの、子供の、幼児の、教育をちょっと、してみようかというか、勉強してみようかなって思いまして、で、それで実は彼女はプリスクールの先生になったんですね。で、5年間、その先生をやっていたということなんですけども、もうそうやってね、もう子供さんと一緒にお仕事するっていうのがとにかく楽しくて、もうこれは自分のための仕事だみたいに、すごくなんか嬉しくなったそうなんです。で、ナイキの仕事っていうのもとにかくこれはもうやらなきゃいけない仕事っていうか、なんか理想の仕事って思い込んでたこともあったんですけれども、でも今考えてみると、その教師、プリスクールの先生としての仕事っていうのは本当に自分が心からやりたい仕事だったなっていうふうに感じてるそうなんです。で、そのお仕事を5年ぐらいやって、それで今度上海に移った時にもまた上海のちょっと小さめの学校でスペシャルニーズのあるお子さんたちにムーブメントを通して教育をしたりっていうことを続けて、で、だからすごく教育にね、携わった時期もあったそうなんですね、アジアにいるときは。で、ベトナムに行ったときには、今度はヨガをね、もうちょっと向き合ってみようかなってなって、自分がやるだけではなくて、教える側になる勉強もしてみようかなということで、ベトナムでヨガを勉強したということなんですね。So that comes sort of full circle, end up in Vietnam, and you're gonna be the teacher.
And coming back. And initially, the draw was to become a children's yoga teacher because I had just come from being so enmeshed for the last 10 years in working with children. And I felt like I had a body of knowledge about what worked with them, especially the little ones. And that was an exciting transition for me. And I found a teacher who did those kinds of trainings. It's specialized. Hardly anyone does children's yoga teacher trainings. And so it just seemed like it was the right thing. But before that, it's important to become a yoga teacher before you become certified in a specialty. And so I went straight in, and I had the pleasure of taking my training from Yoga Vietnam and a teacher named Suzanne Vien. And what I took her gem to me was that she had some problems with her body as far as injuries and as far as things like that. And so she was taking it quite easy. So instead of she gave us an amazing foundation in hatha yoga and in the poses and how to teach, but she infused it with this care and this emphasis, that the emphasis wasn't only on the physical, that the emphasis was also on the spiritual practice side and the meditation side. And she's an extraordinary meditation teacher. And for the first time under her guidance, I was able to really understand what it meant to meditate. I was able to clear my mind. I was able to feel what that really did feel like, instead of wandering and feeling like, is this it? Is this it? No, I really was able to. And then to see the difference in my life, to see how it changed me as a person, to see how it gave me those pauses with which to be able to reflect and decide how to act. So for her, that initial time, my first 200-hour teacher training, and then subsequently my 95-hour children's teacher training, and then becoming an assistant teacher trainer, that was that first part of the journey in Vietnam.
ということで、10年間ね、アジアで、こうやって教師としてもね、活躍していたわけなんですけれども、とにかく最初は、そのベトナムに行った時に、子供にヨガを教えられるようになりたいと思って、そもそもヨガの免許というか、ライセンスを取ろうと思ったそうなんですね。で、もうやっぱり子供さんといっぱい仕事をしてきたので、こういうムーブメントをすると子供たちが楽になるとか、楽しめるとかいうのをすごくここで理解していたので、それを何かに役立てたいと思って、で、 ヨガを通してそうしようって、決めたわけなんですけども、そういう特別のね、ヨガを教えられるようになるまでも、普通のね、こうヨガのヨガの先生のライセンスを取らなくちゃいけないので、ヨガベトナムというところでね、先生になるあれを受けたということなんですが、でスザンヌさんというね、先生だったということで、その先生は自分がちょっと怪我をねしてたりとかもしていたということで、その動き自体はそんなにこうハードではないことをね好む先生だということで、ハザヨガをね教えている先生だったそうなんですけれども、でも彼女はすごくこうフィジカルな部分だけでなくて、ヨガのこうスピリチュアルな部分をすごく大切にしている人だったということで、彼女はすごくね素敵なまた瞑想の先生でもあったそうなんですね。だからこの先生のおかげで、実はロビンさんはこうやっと本当に瞑想をするってことがどういうことなのか、自分のいろいろ頭の中で考えていることがこうクリアになるのかっていうね、それをやっとこの先生を通して体験することができたというふうにねおっしゃってるので、すごく感謝しているっていうふうにおっしゃってましたけれどもね。それであとフルーデュスヨガっていうのをねそのロビンさんはやってるんですけど、これは一体どんなヨガなのか、これはどこでね勉強されたヨガなのかも聞いてみたいんですが、 So what is the fluidus yoga? Is this something you learn in Asia or different?
It is. So my final mentor, my final teacher came to me in Vietnam. And so I took an additional 300-hour teacher training under Carlos Dao of Fluidus Academy. And the method is hard to put specifically to pin down and put into a tagline.
Okay.
It's not a branded product. It's not like if you say, core power yoga, you understand exactly what you're getting. If you say Ashtanga yoga, you understand exactly what you're getting. And actually what I was feeling at the time, I had been teaching for a while. I was loving my children's classes. I was becoming slightly, not disenchanted, but honestly a little bit bored and wanting to go further and having additional curiosity about teaching adult classes because I felt like there was just more to it. And I met Carlos, and he came to me at exactly the right moment in my life, and his approach is very different. And I would call him almost a mad scientist, very much on the cutting edge of what's going on in medical research as it applies back to movements. And so this again was 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago, and the idea of fascia, the idea of this amazing connective net of innervation under our body was just starting to be talked about. It was still very fringe, and he was right there.
Wow.
He was one of the first people to bring the ideas from anatomy trains and Tom Myers, where we have lines of the body, lines of function that are interconnected instead of muscles that move our bones. Very mechanical way of thinking it, right? So up until now, yoga anatomy is a very mechanical idea of breaking down the body to understand it, and breaking down the poses to understand what moves here and there, but not looking at ourselves holistically, and not looking at how that we create these beautiful lines of tension and relaxation through fascia and through this almost fluidity, the way that our fascia glides on itself. And so that's the foundation of his training, is about learning more about how to use the body in the way that it was intended, instead of trying to force it into a program or a box or a pose. It's unlocking our natural intelligence, which our body knows what to do. We just pattern out of it with our experiences, with the way that we do things. And so I'm just very happy to have had his wisdom. I continue to have his wisdom, and it means that the classes are very experimental. It means that we use yoga poses, but we deconstruct them sometimes to bring people to the feeling and the sensation of these lines, this good tension, these kinds of space that you can make. And so it isn't like a traditional yoga class where you follow this set sequence. You kind of aren't always sure what you're going to get. And
That's exciting. Yes, that's exciting. Yeah. で、最終的に、彼女がたどり着いたのが、この、フルーデスヨガっていうものなんですけれども、これがですね、もう本当に彼女がメンターとして、本当に、親しんでいる、カールさんという人にね、出会って、ベトナムで出会ったそうなんですけれども、この人について300時間のね、トレーニングを受けたということなんですね。で、フルーデスアカデミーで、教えていらっしゃる、カールさんということだったんですけれども、このメソッドというのはなかなかやっぱ難しく説明が難しくて、あんまりブランド化もされていないし、例えばコアパワーヨガって言ったらこういうのだとか、アシュタンガヨガって言ったら大体こういうヨガだって分かりやすいですけれども、このフルーデスヨガの場合はちょっとそれが難しくてですね、なかなか分かってもらいにくいということなんですけれども、実はもう本当にこのカルロさんと出会ったのも本当にすごいタイミングがよくって、で彼女は本当にちょっともう科学者というかものすごく頭がいい人でマッドサイエンティストみたいだっていうふうにね思ってるそうなんですけれども、医療リサーチだとかそういうデータに基づいたことをムーブメントにアダプトするような方ですごくクラス自体がすごくいろんな毎回違うんですね。で、5、6年前ぐらいですかね、それであんまり筋膜のことが知られていなかった時代に、このカルロさんはものすごく筋膜の重要性を皆さんにやっぱりアピールしていて、で筋肉の部分っていうのはすごくやっぱりメカニカルな動きですけれども、筋膜っていうのはすごく網みたいなね体を覆っているもので、でもやっぱりそれが液体のようにうまくフローしていないと体がうまく動いていかないっていうことで、それをもっとその動かせ方とかをもっと知りましょうというね、内容だったということなんですけれども、ですから、ヨガのポーズも使うし、そのパターンとかもね、もちろんあるんですけれども、でも、それよりも自分の感覚とかテンションとか、そういったことをすごく大切にしていくので、毎回ね、ちょっとエクスペリメント的な、なんか感覚がありまして、で、毎回違って、すごくエキサイティングなクラスなんですよっていうふうにおっしゃってますけれどもね。でも本当にこのロビンさんはですね、いろんなことを勉強されてて、本当に一番最初にね、インタビューの最初にすごく好奇心がありすぎてなんておっしゃってましたけど、なんか本当にそういうノリでいろんなことを勉強されてるんだなって思うんですけど、ステラノムービングセンターでもエリアルとかもね、勉強して、エリアルもね、たまに教えたりとか、いろんなことやってるんで、ヨガの先生として今後どんな風にね、なっていきたいとか、目標はあるんでしょうかね。So I remember like in the beginning of our interview, you said you have so much curiosity for anything, right? And then that explains of how you like learning this and that, and it's like you have such a great interest in like everything out there, right? And I know that you like learn aerial at the Still Moving Center, and then you're offering aerial too. But so now, like, how do you imagine yourself as a yoga instructor, like in the future? Like, do you have any type of like goal or like, how can you explain that?
Sure. I think that I want to be able to share this idea with as many people as possible. I just want to help people move better. And I think that as a society, we're getting, the technology side of it, how we've started to just become these hunched over creatures that look at our phone all day, or type on the computer all day, or sit in the car and drive all day, or sit at a desk all day. I want to bring people back into their bodies and to find more just joy in movement. And I think that with the kind of yoga that I practice, the fluidus method, it's never going to be static. There's no dogma in it. Like it has to be this way. These are the rules. The rules are never going to change, because honestly, we're finding out more and more and more about our bodies all the time, and how things work and what's new. And technology in that respect is our friend, because we can really get to more of the ways that we work. And so I hope to continue to be curious and to continue to incorporate what's different and what we're learning along the way from a biology standpoint,
Yeah.
along with a journey to bring like joy and fun and health and just that experience to people. And whether that's just as a yoga teacher of group classes, whether it's private classes one-on-one, which I love to teach, or it's becoming a teacher trainer to begin to share these ideas and these principles with other yoga teachers. That's exciting too. So I'm very open to those ideas, but I'm not really trying to build an empire or anything like that. I just am very much enjoying being a part of Still and Moving Center and seeing how that's evolving, especially with the Academy of Mindful Movement and where Renee is going with that. It just dovetails perfectly already with the way that I'm teaching. So
yeah,
be helpful with that. Yeah.
彼女はこれからどんなね、ヨガのインストラクターになっていきたいですかってお伺いしたんですけれども、やっぱりこう自分の体をもうよりよく、よりうまく動かせるように皆さんにいろんなことを教えていきたいということで、やっぱり普段ね、皆さんテクノロジーが発達しているので、すごくグーってなって、電話とかね、携帯見てたり、PC 見てたりとかって、車の中でちっちゃくなって運転してたりとか、そういうことがありますけれども、そうじゃなくて、もっと体を動かす喜びをいろんな人にやっぱり教えていきたいっていうふうに思っているそうなんですね。で、やっぱりいろいろと研究が進む中で、体のことっていろんなことがやっぱりどんどん分かってきていて、だからそれにね、彼女すごくやっぱ好奇心もあるので、常に追いついていたいし、自分が知ったことをみんなともシェアしていきたいっていう心もありますし、それがね、グループであっても、プライベートであっても、プライベート彼女大好きだそうなんですけれど、すごくね、いろんな方にそれをシェアしていければいいなっていうふうにおっしゃってます。でも、かといって自分の帝国を作ろうとかいうわけではなくて、スティル&ムービングセンターでね、こうやって教えられてるのがすごくね、やっぱり嬉しいなと思うし、アカデミー・オブ・マインドフルムーブメントのやっていることっていうのも、本当にそもそもね、彼女がこういうふうに教えたいなっていうことを教えるアカデミーだったりとかもして、すごくね、共感したりとかもしているので、今はすごくハッピーですということなんですけれどもね。でもやっぱりずっと本当に体をね、動かしてくることをしていた彼女っていうのは、どの時点でこの体を動く喜びっていうのを知ってたんですかね。So it sounds like you've always been really active, right? Like working out and doing yoga. So when did your joy of moving start for you? Looking back, when do you think you discover the joy?
I was a very fast runner.
Okay.
I could just run very fast, especially in my youth, like when I was in elementary school.
Yeah.
And I just think that the joy of playing tag and being chased and always being able to run fast and not be tagged, that's probably my first, if I think back, that's probably my first experience of just pure joy of just running and feeling my physicality.
Yeah. I can almost feel it.
Right?
Yeah. そうなんだ。いつぐらいに体動かすの楽しいって思えたんですかねって昔を振り返って見ていただいたんですけど、そしたら小学校の頃っていうかちっちゃい頃すごく走るのがめっちゃ速かったそうなんですね、ロビンさん。それで走ってる時に他の人とタグしなくてもいいって誰か人から追いかけられる、私は自分が最初にいてとにかく走り続けているって快感みたいな、それがもう本当に純粋なもう超嬉しいみたいなのを感じたのをすごく覚えていて、でそれから体を動かすってことにすごくハマっちゃったそうなんですね。でもすごいですよね。あとナイキで楽しかったプロジェクトとかもちょっと私個人的に知りたいんですけど、and if you are able to talk about it, just out of my curiosity, what was the project that you really most enjoy working at Nike?
Oh gosh, there were. Most of my career was spent in women's apparel and being on the marketing side. And so I would say that as I'm looking back, we grew the business quite a bit, but we also were able to create niche product lines for specific people. And I would say I was able to help to launch a women's maternity line for fitness and working out. It was amazing. And just being able to see that from the ground up, from nothing to all the way out, at retail was amazing. And also helping with helping with bringing to market sort of specifically engineered sports bras that were not so unsupportive. I know that sounds like, everything's so tricked out now. Everything's so tricked out now, but there was a time when it wasn't. And so Nike, I think, was as with many things, Nike's always kind of on the edge and pushing the envelope of technology. And so being able to do that and having that side of it was really fun.
Wow, that's so awesome. Like you were the trailblazer of Nike. Yeah. ナイキのね、とこで仕事してた時にも何が一番楽しかったですかってちょっと私、個人的に興味があるので聞いたんですけど、彼女の担当っていうのはもうほとんどが女性のアパレルだったということで、女性のアパレルのマーケティングとかをしていたということなんですけれども、すごくビジネスが成長していく上で、彼女かなりそこの時代関わっていたんですよね。で、彼女が一番すごく思い出して楽しかったなって思うのが、ナイキのマタニティラインを作ることに彼女すごく関わってたんです。で、そもそもナイキにはマタニティの人たちがフィットネスできるようなものがなかったので、そこの本当に何もない状態からそのマタニティラインを作っていくってことがすごくね、やっぱり楽しかったし、女性がなんか楽しそうにしている妊婦の人たちもフィットネスができる、心地よくフィットネスができるっていうのはすごく嬉しかったそうなんですが、あと昔スポーツブラがあんまりちゃんとサポートしてくれない時期とかもありましたね。すごい昔ですけど、そのスポーツブラがちゃんとサポートしてくれるスポーツブラっていうのの開発にも彼女はかなり関わっていたということで、だからすごく何もない状態からそうやってね、今当たり前のようにあるものをなんか開発していくってことがすごく楽しかったですっていうふうにおっしゃってますけれどもね。はい。でもあともう一つ聞きたいのは、ヨガをいろいろねこうやってずっとやってきて、彼女にとってどういう影響があったのか、それもちょっと最後に聞いてみたいと思うんですが。So, last question before I get to another quiz. I'd like to ask you like how yoga affected you and your life in general, like overall. How do you feel about that?
I would say that there are different yoga. I guess I would explain it like a doorway, or a series of doorways, really. And the first way I accessed yoga was through, just the physical practice and letting that help me be strong and letting that help me get in touch with my breath and things like that. And then that being a curious person, I guess, that physical side led me to think, there must be something more, right? There must be something more. And so, that second layer then really has to do with the introspection, self-development, looking at yourself as you relate to other people, trying to kind of process sort of why you think the things that you think. Through meditation practices, through different kinds of self-discovery techniques. And the most meaningful change, I think, has been in my meditation practice as it affects me in the world as I relate to other people. And I've had, people are close to me, especially my mother, saying like, you've really changed. I see the change in you. I see your calm, and I'm the family peacemaker now. Anytime anybody is having like conflict, I'm the one who gets to like talk to the parties and be the one to come bring us to resolution. So there's just this beautiful pause that you get from being from having meditation in your life. It's the split second when you can choose. You can look at the situation that you're in and choose how to respond or to respond at all. And it's that people talk about it as a detachment or just, but I just see it as this pause with which you have the chance to reflect before you do or say or feel. And that is probably the most lasting thing. I mean, I love the physicality. It brings so much joy to move, but I would have to say that as far as the impact on my life, it's that part of it. They're kind of entwined. Yeah. Oh, that was a long answer.
No, I loved it. I loved it. Yeah. ヨガってね、だから彼女にとって最終的にどんな影響を与えてきたと思いますかっていうふうに聞いたんですけど、ヨガは本当になんかこう、入り口というか、何でもね、こう入り口だと思うっていうふうにおっしゃっていて、で、彼女の場合は、こう自分の体、身体的なこうフィジカルの面から入っていったし、もうちょっと強くなりたいってことで、実はヨガをね、見つけたそうなんですけれども、でもやっぱり彼女すごくいろんな好奇心があるので、でもそれだけじゃないはずだみたいな、もうフィジカルな部分じゃなくて何かあるはずだっていうふうに、こういろいろ追求していったときに、やっぱりヨガにはこう自分と向き合う部分があったり、なんかこう内面を向き合ったりとか、こう瞑想したり、自己探求したりとか、もうやっぱりいろんなことがやっぱりこう蓋を開けてみたらあったわけなんですよね。なんで、意味ある、彼女にとってのそのヨガがもたらしてくれたこう変化っていうのは、やっぱり他の人との関係性がすごくうまく取れるようになったってことだそうなんです。で、すごく、今ね、母親とかにも言われるそうなんですけども、昔と比べてすごくなんかこうリラックスして落ち着いた性格になったわねって言われるそうなんですが、すごくいつも穏やかで、で、家族とかもこう誰かがなんかわーって言ってこう喧嘩をね、口論になったりとかするときに、いつもロビンさんが真ん中に入って、こうみんなをこうどうとね、なんかこう落ち着かせていく人になってきたということなので、なんかこう、何かアクションを起こす前とか何かを言ってしまう前にこう一回ちょっと立ち止まってでそこで考えるっていうことをやっぱりこういったヨガだとかこう瞑想だとかを通して知ることができたので、だから多分それが今自分にとってすごくポジティブな影響だったんじゃないかなっていうふうにおっしゃっています。いやーでご主人はもうじゃあリタイアされたんですか？ So your husband is already retired?
He is. He retired really early. He's so lucky.
But is he still active in sports with you guys?
He is. So he retired and we moved here, and that was part of the plan. And we've been able to. We have had a house here for a long time, and the plan was always to. When we moved in to remodel. And so for him, that's been like a full-time job for this last year. Wow. As we've been living in a house as we're remodeling it. That's a pretty interesting little activity if anybody wants to give it a try. And so that's been his job, and he's going to now that it's coming to a close and we're finished, I will be so curious to know what he decides to do next, because I'm sure it's not like full retirement. I'm sure there will be something else, but he's very active, and I hope that we'll be able to continue to enjoy walking, running, tennis, golf. There's this thing, it's kind of a retirement thing, but I'm excited to do it. It's called pickleball. I don't know.
It's so popular in Hawaii.
Big in Japan.
No, I don't
popular
think.
Here.
Yeah, it's popular here.
And it is kind of like this retirement thing. Like all of the people in Palm Springs are doing it, and they're like, "We love pickleball." I'm like, it's kind of an old person thing, but I'm super excited to try it. Right?
I know. Yeah. I heard about it too. I'm like a little curious. Like, oh, how's
that
so
strange.
Yeah. で、最後にちょっとね、ご主人の話も聞いたんですけど、ご主人はね、だからハワイに引っ越してきたタイミングで本当に早くしてね、リタイアすることができて、彼はラッキーなのよっていうふうにおっしゃってましたけど、お家がハワイにね、あって、で、それでだから今のところはそのお家のこう、リモデリングっていうかね、改築工事とかがいっぱいまだあったりとかして、だからもうそれがなんかご主人の仕事になってるみたいな感じなんですけれども、でも普通にね、こうリタイアして何もしないわけがないので、彼もね、多分こういろいろ運動とかいろいろ多分していくんじゃないかっておっしゃってます。で、ちょっと今2人でね、興味を持っているのが、ハワイですごくリタイアした人たちにこう人気があるピックルボールっていうのがあるんです ですね。で、その、ね、ピックルボールで本当なんかこうパームスプリングスとかでなんかこうリタイアしたご夫妻が始めましたとか、なんかそういう感じのものなんですけど、でもすごくなんか実は楽しそうなのでね、ロビンさんもなんかご主人と一緒にやってみようかななんて考えているそうです。はい。それではですね、それでちょっと最後にですね、これからこのスティル&ムービングセンターの先生たちにいろいろとスポットライトを当てていきたいんですけれども、で、そこの毎回やっていきたいなと思ってて、一番最後にランダムな質問を10個して、で、瞬時に答えていただくっていうのをちょっと、試しに、ゲーム感覚でやってみたいなと思うので、それをロビンさんにお願いしたいと思います。So, from here on, I still like to feature wonderful teachers just like you, at the Still Moving Center. And I decided to do these random questions on the spot at the end of the interview. So I hope you're ready for this. So sure. Whatever comes to mind, just, Okay. So are you ready?
I think so, but this is some kind of deep psychological
No, it's not at all.
experiment. No.
全然、深い心理学のそういうものではないです。はい、じゃあ、OK, ready? じゃあ、first one. OK, first one. What is the last meal you want to eat if today is your last day of your life?
Shrimp. Giant jumbo shrimp. With garlic and ginger and lemon.
実は、一番最初の質問は、今日が人生最後の日だったら何を最後の晩餐に食べたいですかって聞いたら、ものすごい大きいエビが食べたいそうです。ガーリックとレモンとジンジャーが入ってるエビが食べたいそうです。エビ好きなんですね。So you like shrimp?
I love shrimp. That's the first thing I like. That just jumps right into the top of my mind.
Funny. Okay, so number 2. What is your ultimate favorite TV show?
Okay. Strangely for a yoga teacher, I do enjoy kind of violent dramas. My favorite of all time is Peaky Blinders. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
It's about, it's kind of post-World War I Britain and the street gangs that formed after. It's I enjoy some very kind of crime-ridden television. I don't know what that means.
Interesting. Okay. で、2番目は好きなテレビ番組は何ですかって聞いたら、ヨガの先生がこう答えていいのかよくわからないですけど、実はバイオレントな結構ドラマが大好きだということで、ピーキーブラインダーというね、犯罪者のネットフリックスにテレビ番組がありまして、で、第一次大戦の後ぐらいにストリートギャングのことを書いた映画番組らしいんですけど、それがすごく好きみたいです。はい、that's an odd one. Okay.
At least I didn't say Squid Game, right?
Squid Game. Yeah. せめてイカゲームって言わなかっただけマシでしょって言われましたけど。Yes. It's okay if it was Squid Game too. Though. No. Okay. And number 3. What do you do to ensure that you don't gain weight?
Oh, gosh. I'm really lucky, I guess. That way, I just move every day. I don't think it's about limiting what you eat. I think it's about staying active. And so taking the stairs instead of the elevator, walking as much as you can, finding those little movement snacks instead of actual snacks.
Wow, that's a good one.
That's the way to do it. It's just focusing less on what you're putting into your mouth and more about moving your feet.
Beautiful. I'm going to use that.
It's a huge difference. And there's so many little ways. Yeah.
いいですね。今ですね、3番目は体重増えないようにやってることは何ですかって聞いたんですけど、ロビンさんはすごくちょっとラッキーでね、あんまり太らない体質ということで、食べ物のコントロールはあんまりしないそうなんですけど、だから代わりにムーブメントスナックっていうのをやってるそうなんです。で、ムーブメントスナックが何かというと、本当スナックを食べるのと同じように、例えばじゃあちょこっと階段登ってみるとか、ちょこっとじゃあこうやって体を動かしてみるとか、それを増やしていくことで、自分は多分そんなに体重増えないでね、コントロールできてるんじゃないかなっておっしゃってます。いやー、ムーブメントスナックいいですね。はい。じゃあ4番目はですね、So number 4, who is your hero?
Oh my goodness. That is such an interesting one. My grandfather is my hero.
Oh,
my grandfather is my hero.
Mm-hmm.
Because my paternal grandfather, and I think I said before, my parents divorced when I was 5. And so I didn't have as much, I needed to spend time with my grandparents in order, for my mom to work and different things like that. And he was a professor at a university of theology and religion. He was a minister. So he had a strong faith in Christianity. But he's the one who just gave me the gift of curiosity and asking questions. And I remember when I was really little, I must have only been like 4 or 5. I would climb up into this big leather chair with him, and we would have philosophy lessons. And he would just, we could just explore the universe and whatever that meant to like a 4 or a 5-year-old. And so he just fostered my imagination and my intellect all the way along the way. He and my grandmother gave me so many opportunities to see the world. They helped send me on kind of peace missions to different places. I was able to go to the Soviet Union when it was still the Soviet Union. I was able to go to Israel and spend some time in the kind of the disputed areas of Palestine, and just to get a very different perspective of the world, I think, than a lot of people were able to get in Oregon. It's just an amazing humanitarian and intellect, and I just was so privileged to know him.
What was his name?
Arthur Roberts.
Arthur Robert.
Yeah. He's not famous, but he's kind of famous. In some circles, he's kind of famous. But,
ですね、あなたのヒーローは誰ですかって聞いたんですけど、そしたらおじいちゃんなんだそうです。で、アーサーさんっていうね、おじいちゃんだそうなんですけれども、実は彼女のご両親が5歳の時にね、離婚してるので、あんまりそのおじいちゃんおばあちゃんがそばにいなかったんですけども、でもこのおじいちゃんはいつもいてくれたということで、教授だったそうなんですね。宗教学だとか、そういったことをいろいろ教えていて、牧師さんでもあったということなんですけれども、なのでおじいちゃんのおかげで自分がいろんな人に興味を持ったりとか、好奇心をねすごく養ってくれたのがこのおじいちゃんで、例えば5歳の時とかに椅子にね一緒に座りながら哲学のねお話をしてくれたりとか、レッスンをしてくれて、すごくね素敵なおじいちゃんだったそうなんですね。で、このおじいちゃんの影響ですごく平和活動とかも彼女は若い頃からしていたということで、例えばソビエト、まだソビエトだった頃、ソビエトソ連に行ったりだとか、イスラエルに行ったりだとか、それでそういうところでいろんな活動をするっていうことも彼女たまにねしていたそうなんですけれども、それも全てねおじいちゃんの影響だったということで、だからすごくその有名人っていうわけじゃないですけど、もう本当に人権人道的なね、もう本当に素晴らしい方だったということなんですね。素敵ですね。Okay, now number 5. If you could have dinner with anyone, who would it be? Anyone.
That is such a hard question. I feel like I had the answer to this question a while back. I said if it was me, I would definitely have dinner with that person. But now it's gone.
It's gone, right?
Of course, I'm just gonna be super honest with you. The first, it's not the first person that I would have dinner with. But it's the person who randomly came in my mind. So I'm just gonna say it. Don't judge me. Sting. I don't know. You asked for off the top.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I wish that I could give you more. I just that one I kind of blanked on. So I'm gonna say Sting. I really enjoyed The Police.
OK。5番目の質問ですけども、誰とでもご飯を食べれるとしたら誰と行きたいですかって聞いて、これ前に考えたことあったのに、その答えを忘れちゃったと思って、それでだから多分2番目とかの人にしますけどってことで、スティングと一緒にご飯が食べたいそうです。で、彼女はすごい若い頃にポリスが大好きだったので、もうだからちょっと今思いつくのはスティングかなっていうふうにおっしゃってますけどね。はい。So maybe despite you might have a same answer for this. 6. What songs always make you feel better? Or which artist?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Okay. Like this is really getting into like something strange because it's not the it's the music of my college years, right? It's the music of that time in my life. And even if it's melancholy, which it was a little bit of a melancholy time there in the early 90s, I still go back to that. And those are the artists that I was like, oh, those are the ones that I just have this feeling of affinity for. And so like the Smiths, wonderful affinity for it. They're a little melancholy, but for some reason they always make me feel happy and I can just sing along and they touch me. The Cure, so melancholy, but they have like these great songs like Love Cats and different things. They're just like, oh, you can't help but like feel better, better or like just like connected. So I will say the Smiths and the Cure.
All right, good one. I love the Cure too.
Right?
Okay, okay. 6番目はどの曲を聴くと元気になれますかっていうことで、なんかじゃあポリスっていうのかなと思ったらそうではなくて、大学の時にね、聴いていた音楽っていうのが今すごくやっぱり聴くと元気になれるということで、ちょっとメロンコリーな、なんかそのハッピーな曲じゃないんですけど、聴いて嬉しくなるのがザ・スミスとかザ・キュアとか、なんかすごい聴くとなんかこうドヨーンとした感じなんですけど、でも聴くとなんかその時とコネクトするというか、自分の楽しかった時期とね、コネクトできるので元気になりますってことです。はい。じゃあ7番目。So number 7. What is the superpower you like to have and why?
I think I would like to be, if it wasn't like a helping superpower, like just like a personal superpower, I would love to be invisible.
Oh, why?
I would just love to have the freezer. I would just love to have the freedom to go anywhere. I don't want to like spy on people, but I just kind of feel like that would be amazing. Actually, it's tied with wanting to fly. I don't know. Now I have to think about it because just as I was saying that, maybe I want to be able to take to the air as well.
Okay. はい。7番目はどんなスーパーパワーがあったらいいなって思いますか？そしてその理由はって聞いたんですけど、透明人間になりたいそうです。で、別にね、なんかそのスパイとかするわけじゃないんですけど、こうその自由で、なんかこうどこにいてもわからないっていうのがいいし、まあそれを考えると、こう飛べるっていうのもいいなみたいな感じに思うそうですけれどもね。はい。じゃあ8番目。So number 8. How would your best friend describe you?
Compassionate, a good listener, really loyal.
いや、あなたの親友はあなたをどう説明すると思いますかって聞いたんですけど、コンパッショネット、思いやりがあって、すごくいいリスナーで、多分すごくロイヤルな、すごく貢献してくれて、こう自分にね、尽くしてくれる人っていうふうに言うと思います。私もきっとそういうふうに、そうじゃないかなって思いますけどね。じゃあ今度は9番目。Number 9. If you were stranded on a desert island, typical, who would you bring? One person. Who would you bring?
Only one? How would that be? I would bring my husband.
無人島に漂流したら誰を連れて行きたいですかって聞いてて、でも一人しか連れて行けないですって言ったら、ご主人だそうです。素敵ですね。いやー。Okay. それじゃあ、final question, number 10.
Okay.
If you could live anywhere, where would that be? I think maybe it's happening already.
Oh my goodness. No, we live in paradise. We're so lucky. There's two places that I've just felt this actually, I'll just say one place I felt this amazing connection with. Hawaii is one, but there's a place in Vietnam called Dalat, and it
Dalat?
is in Dalat. It's in the mountains. It's a very rich kind of growing region, farming region, but it's mountainous. And I don't know what it is about that place, but I just think that it's magical and it has some kind of energy emanating from it. I know that sounds really weird, but I just felt so
connection,
grounded and connected and at home there. And I would go back there if I could.
最後はですね、世界のどこに住んでもいいとしたらどこに住みたいですかって聞いたんですけど、彼女の場合はね、本当に住みたいところがハワイだったので、今本当にハワイに住んでますけど、でももう一つちょっとあって、ベトナムにあるデラットっていうところなんですけど、すごくなんかこう農業とかが発達していて、すごくマジカルなところなんですけど、すごい田舎のようなね、ところなんですけど、そこはすごくいると自分と何かこうつながるような感覚があって、すごくグラウンディングできるところなので、また行ってみたいななんていうふうにおっしゃってますけどもね。はい、ということで今日はちょっと新しい試みもさせていただきまして、ロビンさんの人となりをいろいろ聞いてみました。Well, thank you for going along with this quiz too. This was my first time trying, so I wasn't sure how that's gonna come out, but thank you for playing with me.
No problem.
Thank you so much for everything. It's lovely to talk to you.
It's great to talk with you too. And I just am so impressed by how easily you're able to interview people and shift in and out of translation. And it just is a wonder to watch. And so it's been so fun to have a chance to talk with you. And I will just look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you. And hopefully I get to take more of your yoga classes in the future. And I hope people listening to this podcast will hopefully join you in the class more.
Likewise.
ね、ということで、本当にロビンさんもね、ちょっと楽しんでくださったということで、私もね、またロビンさんのクラス、いろんなね、ヨガのクラスとかやってますので、ぜひね、参加したいと思いますし、この、ね、番組聞いてくださった方もぜひぜひ参加してみてください。はい、ということで、Riding the Waves、今日は、ヨガインストラクターのロビン・シェパードさんにお話を伺いました。Thank you so much, Robin!
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.